guys, it's time for a chat, and I was thinking that it'd be fun to talk about our favorite foods, which might be kind of weird maybe for some of you, but like one of the first things I like to find out when I'm getting to know somebody or making a new friend is like what kind of foods do they like to eat. I was thinking like it's been it's been off and on hot and cold here. It almost feels like a monsoon type season. We've had days where it's been like really cold all day and rainy and hailstorms and stuff like that, and then there have been days where it's been back up into like the mid 80s, you know, so it's kind of been back and forth. But when it does that, it kind of feels more like fall. And I don't know about you, but I start getting more into like comfort foods and soups and wanting to like eat certain things like squash and whatnot more than I do in the summertime. And so I thought it'd be a fun time to start chatting about different kinds of food that we like to eat, comfort foods, recipes, just, you know, whatever. Anyway, so I guess my favorite foods, which is really hard because I really like food, obviously. Anyway, I love ethnic foods. I don't know, just like it's so interesting. Not that there's anything wrong with like American food. If American food even really exists, I wonder, because it feels like American food just pulls from so many different other countries and different like cultures as far as like the food and the flavors go. It almost feels like a mishmash, which I don't necessarily know. I guess the mishmash could technically be American, but I mean, it's like you get pizza, which people, you know, say is American, but that's kind of Italian, and you've got burgers, but even the name burger is like German. You know, so it's almost like, is there American food? French fries? I wouldn't say they're from France, but Belgium. Up here, Belgium makes killer fries. Anyway, so I really love ethnic foods. I guess my favorite ethnic food, and probably the first ethnic food I've tried outside of Mexican. I mean, my family is partially Mexican, so Mexican food is kind of like what I grew up eating. So to me, that's just normal, and I wouldn't consider that ethnic, even though it is, I guess. I guess I consider ethnic foods more like, I don't know, exotic, maybe? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Anyway, Thai food. Thai food was one of the first ethnic types of food that I've ever tried, and it still is my favorite. I have two dishes that I try the most, although I've tried other things too, and those two are kind of like my standard and staple. Every now and again, I'm just like, I have to have these two items, just like this, and I have to eat it. And one is chicken pad thai. I love pad thai. So good. So good. So flavorful and just interesting, and such a new take on noodles for me, at least, because, you know, growing up, the only way we ever really had noodles was if it was covered in cheese or covered in like tomato sauce. And so having that like sort of sweet, you know, maybe garlicky, gingery, peanutty sauce on top, oh, it's just really, really good. And then the other, which I actually make from home, because I'm kind of scared to make pad thai because I'm afraid it won't turn out like at the restaurants, but at home I've learned how to make, I think it's called I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but tom kha soup, which is coconut milk soup. And the restaurants I always go to, they thinly sliced chicken, and there's kefir lime leaves, there's galangal root, which I don't even know what that is, but it tastes good. Lemongrass, and you can see the lemongrass stalks in the soup. And then they put like tomatoes and carrots, onion, cilantro. I mean, it's so good. So, so good. And so there's some Asian markets near where I live, and I've gone there and I've found like tom kha paste, and I'll just buy the coconut milk and I make it myself from scratch when the weather starts to get just a little bit chilly, because it's like the perfect thing. It's just so flavorful and so good and kind of light and refreshing, and yet, you know, warm and satisfying. It's like almost like comfort food, but different, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of like my first foray into ethnic foods. And then since then, I've tried all different kinds of foods. I've tried some Japanese food. I've tried yakisoba, and I haven't really tried sushi all that much. I did try to make my own sushi because I'm not really into raw fish. I don't really like raw anything, to be honest. I'm not really a big fish person either, so that's probably also why I'm not into raw fish. And everyone swears up and down that it's good, and I'm sure it is good for them, but for me, I just don't do raw fish. Like tuna fish and maybe fish sticks are about as much fish as I ever eat, and even that is like less than once a month. Like less than once every 3 months even. So I don't eat it much and I don't eat it often. I just don't do fish. But anyway, so I did make my own vegetarian sushi. There's a Japanese market not too far from where I live. And so, you know, I bought the seaweed and I bought the sushi rice, and I have rice vinegar and stuff like that all in hand because I like to make Asian food quite a bit. And yeah, I just filled it with I think I did carrot and cilantro and cucumber and avocado. So it wasn't super colorful, but except for the carrot, but it didn't turn out too bad, you know? It really didn't. And so I feel like even if there's certain ethnic foods you wouldn't necessarily like on their own, maybe you can like adjust the tastes or the ingredients a little bit to make it your own. So, I mean, I've tried that. I've tried miso, obviously, ramen, things like that from Japan. I've not tried traditional Chinese food. I know it's different than the Americanized version. Kind of like the pizza is probably different. Italian pizza is probably different than American pizza. But I've never tried anything but the Americanized version, although I'd like to try some. I hear they put like black beans and some other things in it. So I'd like to try like an actual authentic Chinese dish versus like the Americanized dish. But I mean, I love the Americanized version of Chinese food as well. Flavorful. I can make it from scratch, but I love the noodles. And the noodles, I think, are the hardest part to get right because you have to have the right type of noodle to do it. But I mean, I love the Mongolian barbecue places out here where you just like build your own. And they do it on the big, huge Mongolian grill. But noodles, I actually love the Chinese noodles the best. And by noodles, I mean lo mein. I'm not really into chow mein as much. I'm not into the crunchy as much, but I mean, I do make my own version. It's not, I don't think it's authentically Chinese, but of like mushroom chicken, and I'll put like zucchini and mushrooms and carrots and onion, cilantro, garlic, you know, those types of flavors, because those are the flavors you really find in it, and chicken, and then I'll just, you know, I make a sauce and put it over rice. So I do that. And then Indian food. Indian food's my other big one, and I do make that from scratch. Well, technically I make the chicken tikka masala from scratch because they sell the paste at my local grocery store. So I'm able to get my hands on the paste, and then I just add like, you know, meats and veggies and whatever to it. Sometimes I even add pumpkin puree, which I know is not probably very traditional, but you know, I figure, hey, let's get creative in the kitchen, right? So yeah, I make all those different kinds of foods, and I love to eat all those different kinds of foods, and most of the time they're pretty pricey out here, which is why I start making my own. Like Chinese is kind of, you know, it's not too bad. Like that, you can get that fairly cheap. But the Thai food for 2 people, and it's probably like $30, which I guess isn't too horrible, but it's way cheaper to make it from scratch. And then, yeah, sorry, my train of thought just went boop. I don't know if your brains ever do that to you, where you're like thinking and all of a sudden it's just like brake slam on and you're like, where was I? Anyway, the Indian food. Indian food out here is really, 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 really kind of expensive. I mean, for 2 people to eat out and just have like the naan, rice, and the entree and drinks, it's going to be over $40. So, I mean, it's really, really good out here. It's just really, really expensive. So we don't really do it that often. Have any of you ever tried churrasco or churrasca? I'm not sure if it's or o. Anyway, it's like there's a place out here called Tucano's, and it's a Brazilian barbecue. Oh my gosh, it is so good. They have like a giant salad bar, and it's not like your typical salad bar salad. I mean, they do have salad ingredients, but they have like a ton of just like really nice fancy salads, like a seafood salad with like shrimp in it. Now, like I said, I am not into seafood, and I'm definitely allergic to shrimp, so it's like I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but most places don't offer anything as nice or as fancy or as expensive on their, you know, salad bars. And they have bananas that they roll in cinnamon and sugar, and they fry it, and they have these like little bread things made out of tapioca bread, I think, or tapioca flour, and cheese. They're really, really good. I don't know the correct name for them, but Yeah, and those are really good. But the best part is the meat. They fire roast the meat like on these long like sticks, and they basically have all these different kinds. They've got like sausages and filet mignons and wrapped in bacon, and I mean just all kinds of meat, all kinds. And you basically have this little timer on your table, and the green means keep bringing the food, keep bringing the meat, and the red means like stop, slow down, I've had enough, or I'm taking a break, whatever. And it's like all you can eat. It is expensive. It's like 20 bucks a person, but oh my gosh, it's worth it to do it every once in a while. And the best part is they have this delicious grilled pineapple that they like brush with like butter and brown sugar, and they grill it. Oh my gosh, I could eat that pineapple all day, every day till I die. It's really, really good. So if you've never had a chance to try a Brazilian barbecue, I highly suggest that you do it. It's churrasco, I believe is the actual word. And yeah, anyway, so I want to know, what are your favorite foods? Like, what are your favorite comfort foods? Like, for me, I love Mexican food. That's like my go-to food because I grew up eating Mexican food. So, I mean, enchiladas, Spanish rice, I would have to say is like the number one. And I know I've talked about it before in some of my videos, but I mean, I just love it. I grew up eating it. To me, it's just like home, you know? It makes me feel like comforted. It makes me feel better. Just, I don't know, you know? And it's so interesting how food is so tied into so much. Because, I mean, in one sense, it's like, okay, it's just a meal. It's just food. What's the big deal? But then it's like everything that's associated with food. And it's like so much. It's more than just breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like time with your family. It's, you know, activities at church. I don't know if any of you go to church or anything like that, but at least for our church, I mean, there's potlucks. Every time there's a holiday, like, I don't know, like Halloween, when we do like, you know, trunk or treating for the kids, or, you know, Christmas, or even 4th of July, food. There's always food. It's like, you know, either a potluck or a picnic or something, you know. And then getting together with family for like celebrations, parties, birthdays. What's involved? Food, you know, and your family's favorite foods and favorite recipes and things like that. And so I just feel like food is so much more than food. It's like it feeds your body, but I feel like it also feeds your soul, you know, because every time you eat like Aunt Enna's famous potato salad, you're always going to be reminded of that summer, or, you know, just a feeling that sometimes comes back to you when you eat something. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. I guess like Spanish rice. I know I keep talking about it, but you know, my grandma used to make Spanish rice like all the time. And we grew up living with her. We lived with her for like 8 years growing up. And so every time I smell it, every time I taste it, it's like I'm sitting back in her kitchen or sitting back at her table, and it just, you know, it takes me to a different place and a different time, back to when I was like, you know, 10 years old. And so I feel like every food, well, almost every food, you know, can bring us back to something that's important to us, or remind us of like who we are, where we came from, things like that. So anyway, I want to know what your favorite foods are. Like, what does your family like to eat? Boho Mom, I know you've got kids. What's their favorite food? Do they like pizza, chicken nuggets? Are they adventurous at all? Anna, I know you're vegan and vegetarian. Did you grow up eating vegetarian foods, or is there a favorite food that your mom or dad made for you growing up, like funny pancakes, or I don't know if people in Britain eat pancakes, so maybe that's just an American thing. But yeah, I'd love to hear from all of you, like, what's your favorite foods and what memories do you have associated with those meals or with those foods, and do you like ethnic foods? Do you prefer American foods? What's your favorite? I want to hear back from all of you, and thank you for participating in this conversation with Candi. And if you have any suggestions or ideas on future topics, things you'd like to talk about with me or hear about or whatever, you know, just leave a comment below and I'll read it. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.